Now, after a string of disastrous polls coming out showing that Donald Trump is starting to lose his base of support, news that another Trump backer is also privately criticizing the president. Now, this happens to be one of Donald Trump's most prominent Silicon Valley supporters, and that is, of course, Peter Thiel. Now, Peter Thiel, in a report from BuzzFeed News, Thiel has supposedly distanced himself from the president in multiple private conversations. Now, publicly, he remains a steadfast supporter. In fact, he told BuzzFeed News that I support President Trump in his ongoing fight. However, there are certain private statements that he's been putting out that show that that statement is at least in doubt. So let me give you some example. According to 3 different separate sources and others who subsequently confirmed those accounts, Thiel has made some rather disparaging comments towards the president of the United States for his handling of the administration. Now, Thiel told Trump that he's off to a terrific start at a White House event in June. His previous statements to friends and associates do not reflect that sentiment. So he's telling Trump, oh, you're doing a fantastic job. You're terrific start. You're doing great. To his friends, it's like, this guy's a disaster. In half a dozen private conversations with friends that were described to BuzzFeed News, dating from spring of 2016 to as recently as May, Thiel, who served on the Presidential Transition Team Executive Committee, has criticized Trump and his administration and developed increasingly pessimistic feelings about the president. Now, one of the sources who talked with BuzzFeed actually spent time with Thiel in private group settings before and after the election at his homes in LA, San Francisco, and Hawaii, engaging in what they called candid discussions of the PayPal co-founder's politics and his backing of Trump in the election. So here's some examples, right? Now, according to 2 people who were in attendance at an event with friends in January of 2017, Thiel said of Trump's presidency that there is, quote, a 50% chance this whole thing ends in disaster. Disaster. Hey, man, that's like flipping a coin. And look, already, the administration seems to be heading in that direction. In other conversations, he questioned the president's ability to be reelected. Now, that's interesting because recently there was a New York Times report where President Trump and a lot of Republicans, well, at least a lot of Republicans are saying that Trump either might not run in 2020 or he might get primaried in 2020. Now, they had a great story that came out last week where Republicans have begun traveling towards to Iowa and New Hampshire. Now, look, you don't go to Iowa and New Hampshire unless you're actually looking into running. Now, these Republicans are, of course, John Kasich. That shouldn't be a surprise. He's always been against Donald Trump. He's been a vocal critic. He ran against him in the primary and has criticized him ever since. He's like, no, I'm not in favor of Donald Trump. I'm not in favor of his healthcare position. I'm not in favor of a lot of his policy, and especially his rhetoric. So, okay, that makes sense. That's a bit of a no-brainer that he's looking into running. Now, other Republicans is Tom Cotton. You also have Ben Sasse, and even Mike Pence. Wait. Mike Pence? He's the vice president. That's crazy. Now, some Republicans have joked about the fact that Pence, since he's going to all these different political events, is acting more like a second-term vice president, hoping to clear the field, than a number 2 sworn in months ago. And in interviews with more than 75 Republicans at every level of the party, elected officials, donors, and strategists, they had expressed widespread uncertainty about whether Mr. Trump would even be on the ballot in 2020. And little doubt that others in the party are engaged in what they call barely veiled contingency planning. Now, John McCain, of course, who is a huge vocal Trump critic, said, quote, of these Republicans, they see weakness in this president. Look, it's not a nice business that we're in. Not a nice business indeed. Now, of course, Peter Thiel, through his spokesman, he did not deny the quotes. He didn't deny that he said that. Yeah, of course, I said that this is going to be 50% could end in disaster. So, yeah, that's very, very interesting that he doesn't deny this. He's like, yeah, I absolutely said this. But he also said The night we won the election, I said President Trump would face an awesomely difficult task. Today, it's clear that resistance to change in Washington, D.C. has been even fiercer than I anticipated. We still need change. Well, of that I agree. I support President Trump in his ongoing fight to achieve it. So again, that's his public position, but let's go back to his private position. At least one private conversation during the election, Thiel had admitted that he had no confidence in either candidate. That was, of course, Hillary Clinton, which I had no confidence in, and Donald Trump, which I had no confidence in. So, hey, we agree. He said whoever wins will likely be a one-term president. This is according to a person familiar with the discussion, with Thiel predicting that there would be a major financial catastrophe within the next 4 years. Now, that actually is a fairly good prediction. For example, I did a story a few days ago where, look, I've talked about how we gutted Dodd-Frank, and now that there are risky business loans out there taking the place of risky mortgages, just like the lead up of the 2008 financial crisis. Now, those risky business loans, by the way, are being bought and then packaged up and then sold at AAA credit ratings. This is stuff that shouldn't have a AAA credit rating. It's getting sold, and look, this is a big money-making scheme going on in Wall Street. And just like the mortgage crisis, it's likely to blow up in their face. And by their face, I mean all of our faces. So, with that going on, Thiel is likely on the right track. It is coming. Still, he apparently had very low expectations of a Trump administration. He said, quote, "I always have very low expectations, so I'm rarely disappointed," he said of his role in the administration. And now, even with his low expectations and his views on possible failure, BuzzFeed writes, Thiel hasn't completely hidden his disappointment. At an event in May in San Francisco, he was described as one guest who was in attendance as, quote, "annoyed with the first months of Trump's presidency, with little policy being established by the White House." Thiel worried that the next 4 years would be defined by stagnation and stressed the notion that he didn't think Trump would be reelected. In describing the administration, Thiel used one defining word in front of his guests. That word is incompetent. Ding, 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 man. When you have one of your biggest backers telling his friends in private that the president is incompetent and he will likely be a one-term president, that's not a good sign. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.